I mean, just to put it out there and look at it. You'd have to understand some of my stuff in the Necronomicon there about 3B, 1B, A level physics, and some of the other ones. Some of it's really close to almost identical to the same work. I didn't necessarily listen to Pensrow, but all of his screenshots up there when he's talking about the Riemann sphere and twistor theory is stuff that I stole. I recondensed it, I Gresham's lawed it, and I brought it into the system where n equals 2 weak field. Technically, I'm not Pensrow. I can intensity, but that's to say that you understand the intensity of Pensrow at the college level, of me applying it in that Higgs field, which would be the board factory manager shop. It's a little bit of an equation up here in the tighter first order because loops and stuff. But when you're looking at that, you got to look at my logarithm chart. What did I do with it? Firstly, well, 3B, 1B was doing the COVID patients out to 1,000,000, and he's doing that with bar graphs and pie charts and their wavelets to predict as getting closer and closer to IH or FG, an object falling to Earth and its pull back up and down, that some Zimmerman effect. Here we've been recently using the Emerson effect with the PAR rating to deal with the shaded area of the PAR black body under the canopy of a forest. And what was the other one that came with that? There's another one too. The probability distribution, 3 mean on a two-phase, right? So that's kind of what's all happening in sunshine to understand it from a sunshine's perspective, or a Zimmerman's effect, a Emerson effect to the thin-filled algae, Maxwell's ray lighter genes, actual vectors that turn into that problem, make it more precise before there's a cosmological crisis. Most specifically, people don't understand what X and Y you're utilizing and how to form their own dot plot so they can recreate the experiment of the laser beam to the moon. From the books of what you learn from a kid and actually walking out the process is a very different set of circumstances to say there's an effect to that. There's some kind of awareness to it, or at a hypothetical weight that comes to the mass defect of your light emission that's not really something you can weigh. It wasn't really heat. Heat's going to give you intensity of intensity, which metals it was at, and therefore its property at that state. But the way it interacts with the matter next to it is still just the puff of smoke and a bit of light in the situation that goes to the force of that explosion. The effect on nerfing it out like that or bumping that back up, no, that's not a water treatment building. That's a Smith training facility over here at Zion, to be perfectly honest with you. And it could be. It's starting to act a little weird under those facilities that they don't necessarily know those things and catalyze them in solution, or the way they heat it up or cool it down. It is in a hot state, very exothermic or endothermic to the reaction. We just charged up all this paperwork to eventually get to the point where you're going to put the glassware together and have to run that system smooth. What do we know? Well, there's a couple of different rips that can happen in there. Specifically, Nicolas Cage next over here, Batman turning off the light on him, about how I ran that mask gap. Beach set was one, the glass beakers were there. I pulled it out, potassium nitrate like nerd rage, being a Zimmerman effect of the Emerson effect on PAR rating, because it changed it like the shaded light under the canopy of what natural spectrums I can really say are arguably coming from sunshine, where I can use them instead of the 100 lux to 30,000 lux, or somebody telling me that the sopanophore is ranged between 30 million years ago and up to 80 million years ago, which is a pretty wide margin of things considering some evolutionary trials, even in the shark, can be determined from a fossil record. In this case, something that doesn't necessarily have a fossil is going to be a problem of how you define what that answer is. But where we have found some evidence of that, or any kind of biological indicators by that standard, you would say that effect would give you a Darwinism or a pilot wave, if you will, about in there Tom Cruise and your daddy's department of here we're in a F-30 or F-14 or whatever it is. We're not our common driving on it. Would mean I would need years of experience not only to take what Gen 5 rocket they have out there, but still to equate them to the limitations of the other bird M1, M2 that might be out there like that determines more of the force, even though the moon is still attracted to us. We have tidal forces. That's the more exclusionary value inside of here than whoever may have done that port that day. It will still continue to be so, and it always was before somebody became aware of that notation in N2, two bodies in this case, about how you're observed from that notation, or what the CMB would be considered to the Planck particle of the human Schwarzschild radius. If quantifiable, I could tell you, well, my arm would need to conduct a force this large, whether ever possible or not, but that is true. So you have to watch out.